Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is gonna be all about creating a flawless base. You guys requested this like crazy in my how to apply eyeshadow like a pro video, so of course I had to do it for you guys. Personally, if I'm going for more of a flawless foundation look, I like it when my skin still looks like it has some life to it. It still looks pretty natural, but still totally covered where I want it to be covered. So that's sort of how I'm going to be going about this video today. I'm not showing you how to get like a completely blanked out full coverage type of look. Basically going to be showing you guys how to really let your natural skin shine through while still covering everything that you want to cover. I really hope you guys enjoy this video and find it helpful. Don't forget to let me know what next like back to basics type of video you'd like to see from me. Do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up and of course subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and let's get right into it. First things first, the most important step I would say to get a really flawless foundation is to heavily moisturize before actually applying your foundation. If your face is nicely moisturized, then it's really just going to give a really nice base for the primer, the foundation, and basically everything else that you're going to be applying right on top. So I'm going to be taking my Dermalogica Skin Smoothing Cream, and this is just a very simple moisturizer. Really use any moisturizer of your choice, and I'm just going to apply quite a bit of this stuff to my face. So next is priming the face. Now priming the face is sort of a personal thing. It really depends what your personal like skin issues are. If you have problems with hydration, then you want to use a hydrating primer. Something like the Makeup Forever Step 1 hydrating primer is a really great option. If you have problem with larger pores, then using a primer that's going to minimize the look of pores like the Benefit Professional is a really great primer to really fill in those areas so that overall your foundation will look a lot smoother. If your skin is very dry and you sort of want to give your skin a little bit of an extra glow, then using something like the L'Oreal Magic Lumi. This has a really nice like luminosity to it that's really going to give a lot of life to your skin. And if your skin is very oily and you want to use a primer that's really good to keep oil at bay, then I would definitely recommend using an oil control primer or a mattifying primer, something like the MAC Oil Control. If you are somebody who has combo skin and you get oily in your T-zone but the rest of your face is dry or normal, then you could always take an oil control primer and just apply that in your T-zone or wherever you get oily, and then take a more of like a moisturizing primer, for example, and put that everywhere else. Really leave any suggestions in the comments for products for other people who may have a similar skin type, because it's always really helpful. So for me personally, my skin has a lot of texture to it. My skin is very dry, so it feels very rough in a lot of areas, which can sort of be exaggerated when I apply foundation, and it also is a little bit dull. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a little bit of a concoction. Don't be shy to like mix things together and try out different combinations, because you may find a combination that just works amazing for you. So I'm going to take a little bit of my Makeup Forever Step 1 primer, and then I'm going to take just a little bit of the L'Oreal Magic Lumi primer just to give my skin a little bit of a glow, and then massage that into my skin. So there are 3 different ways that you could apply your foundation. You could apply it with your fingers. However, I do really like using either brushes or sponges. There are a few different types of foundation brushes. There are even more than what I'm showing you right now, but I really want to keep it nice and simple. So the first foundation brush that I have over here is a flat foundation brush. This is personally not my favorite type of brush, just because I find it's difficult not to get brush strokes when using a brush like this. But you know, some people do really like a flat foundation brush. It's always personal preference. My favorite type of foundation brush is something like this. This is a flat top kabuki brush, so this is a very, very dense brush. This type of brush you're going to get a very full coverage with because it is so dense. Now the last type of foundation brush that I want to mention is a duo fiber brush. So this is the Real Techniques duo fiber brush. This is really nice if you want a little bit more of a lighter coverage. The bristles right at the top of the brush is a little bit more sparse, so that just gives you a little bit more of a lighter coverage. Sponges are another really great way to apply foundation. If you have a very thick and full coverage foundation that you want to sheer out or make a little bit less full coverage, then using a sponge is a really great option to really make a foundation look a little bit more natural. I do want to mention that it is very important to use your beauty sponges damp. If you use them dry, it's basically going to soak up all of the foundation. You're going to end up using a lot more product, and it really just doesn't do what the sponge is supposed to do when you do use it dry. Now, how I find I get the most flawless finish to my foundation is I actually use a mixture between a brush and a sponge. So I will go in first with the brush and I'll buff in my foundation, and then I'll go in with my sponge and just sort of dab over everything, and this will really ensure that there are no brush marks and that everything is really pressed into the skin and looks really nice and flawless. So for my foundation today, I'm going to be taking my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. Really use any foundation of your choice, and I'm going to put only one pump, and I'm going to start to dot this all over my face. So in order to blend out your foundation, I would recommend either going in downward strokes like this, because if you have peach fuzz, you want to go in downward motions in order to lay that hair down. If you go up or if you go in circular motions, that hair will also be sort of lifted up and it's going to reveal it. You could also just tap the foundation into your skin like this. So this is what a very thin layer of the foundation looks like on my face. So here's another tip for you guys. Even if you do have a lot of redness to your skin, or if you have a lot of blemishes or discoloration that you feel like you want to cover up, really try not to apply such a thick layer of foundation to your face initially. So I first like to apply a very thin layer to my skin, and then instead of applying a whole second layer of foundation to the rest of my face, I will go in only where I really feel like I need it. So let's say my skin over here in this area really doesn't need any more coverage. It was covered up just fine with just that very thin layer of foundation, then I'm not going to apply a second layer in that area. But because I do have a lot of redness in my skin, I will apply just a little bit more around my nose, maybe a little bit on my cheek, on my chin, and that's really going to help you avoid getting really cakey with your foundation. So I just took a half a pump of the foundation, and I'm just going to dot that where I feel like I want a little bit more coverage. So around my nose, around my cheeks, a little bit on my chin. So basically just the center of my face. So as you can see, I sort of avoided my forehead, this area, because I just don't need that extra coverage in that area. So now instead of going in with my brush, I'm going to go in with my sponge, and I'm just going to start to dab out all of that product. So if you're happy the way your skin is looking right now, then you could totally stop here and skip the next step. But if you feel like you still have either blemishes, discoloration, or redness peeking through, that's totally okay. What I would recommend is actually just spot correcting any of those areas that you feel like need just a little bit more coverage with a very, very, very tiny little brush and some very full coverage concealer. So I would recommend using a cream concealer just because those are typically the most highly pigmented. So for example, the Makeup Forever Cream Concealer Palette is a really great option. Also, the Becca concealers are also really great. They're very creamy and very full coverage. An exception to what I just said, this is actually a liquid concealer, but it is from Makeup Forever, and it's a full coverage Extreme Camouflage Cream Concealer. This is a fantastic, very full coverage, very thick concealer that I would only use on the face and not underneath the eyes. This will cover up a tattoo. It is so crazy pigmented and very intense. Or even if you have a cream foundation lying around, you could use that as well. For example, this Cover FX Total Cover Cream Foundation. So for today, I'm going to be using the Cover FX cream foundation, but you could really use any concealer of your choice. I'm also going to put some of this onto my chin, and then I'm going to blend it out with my finger, as well as around my nose. And then again, just blending that in with my finger. So now I'm just going to quickly apply just a little bit of concealer underneath my eyes. So once you finish applying your foundation and your concealer and you're happy with the way everything looks, then it's time to powder your skin. Personally, I never really like to powder my skin because my skin is so incredibly dry that it would just make my skin look really, really cakey. But I think it's really all about finding the right powder that will just work for you. And you do not need to cake on the powder and apply layer after layer of it. You could really apply a very small dusting of it. Powder is so important because it will really just set all of the work that you just put into your face in place, and it'll really ensure that it will last throughout the day. Also, if you plan on going in with bronzer and blush, it is really important to powder your face, especially if your foundation is still a little bit tacky. Otherwise, the blush and the bronzer or the highlighter is really gonna like catch onto the wet areas of your face, and it's gonna make everything look choppy. Now, my personal favorite way to set my face is with a loose translucent powder. This one in particular is from Cover FX, and it is the Illuminating Setting Powder. This powder is fantastic for dry skin because it is an illuminating setting powder. It does not completely mattify my face, which I really like, but there are powders like the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder, which is fantastic if you have more oily skin. Now lately, I've sort of been enjoying applying powder with more of a smaller powder brush. I know typically a lot of people really like to use very big powder brushes and they just sort of like dust the powder all over the face, but as always, I do like to have a little bit more control with where I apply my products. So by having a brush that's a little bit smaller, I'm I'm able to sort of pinpoint exactly where I want the powder, and it's going to ensure that I'm also not going to apply too much. So I just pick up just a little bit of powder onto my brush, and then I will start to very lightly sort of tap the areas that I want to set. I would avoid sweeping the powder all over your face with the initial application, because your foundation, if it's still sticky, you could very easily sort of move it around if you're going to be swiping around with a brush. I will also apply a little bit of this powder right underneath my eyes to set my concealer. Now the last step to finishing off of the face is using a setting spray. There are a few setting sprays that I have here that I want to talk about. The first one is MAC Fix Plus. Now MAC Fix Plus is not going to allow your foundation to last any longer. It's basically just going to really make everything that you put onto your face sort of melt into one. So if you ever feel like you've applied too much powder, or you feel like your face looks a little bit too cakey, by spraying a little bit of MAC Fix Plus on your face, it's almost going to calm everything down and make everything look a little bit more like skin again. If you want a setting spray that will make your face last throughout the whole entire day and the whole entire night, then the Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray is a wonderful, wonderful option. This stuff will really lock your makeup in place, and I do find it actually does make a difference. Now the next setting spray that is a little bit of a newer find for me, this is the Lili Beauty Elixir, and this is really nice if you have dry skin. Very similar to the MAC Fix Plus, but I feel like this adds a little bit more of a glow to my skin. So for today, I'm going to be using my Lili setting spray, but again, use any setting spray of your choice, and I'm just going to do a quick little spritz on my face. I really wanted to get you guys very close to my face so you could really see what my skin looks like. So as you can see, my complexion does not have any redness or discoloration peeking through, but yet it still looks really nice and natural. You can still see my freckles in this area, even around my nose, but you know, everything that I wanted to be covered is covered. So guys, that completes my natural flawless foundation tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to let me know what you thought in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Mwah. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about luxury products. Now, I'm basically